afternoon, my conscious co-creators. Welcome to another edition of the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity. I am very, very pleased that you are all here with me today. I've got a wonderful guest in store for you. I think you'll really love her. But first, of course, we have my blog post from a couple of years ago. Oh, by the way, did you catch my last week's show? I actually talked all about my trip to China and sort of what I noticed about the difference between the last time I was there 15 years ago. Kind of an interesting show. No guest last week. So if you didn't get a chance to check it out, go to the website, talkradio.nyc, and look for Under the Shadow of Dragons. All right. So our blog post for this week is entitled Embracing Change is the Answer to Facing an Uncertain Future. Somehow this feels more relevant today than when I wrote it. The thought of an uncertain future can feel overwhelming. With so much constant change, we can feel lost. What will happen tomorrow, next week, or next year? These questions can weigh heavily on us. Yet there are steps we can take to navigate this uncertainty, to approach it with more confidence and resilience, and release our fear so we can be more present to what is truly happening. It is important to remember that change is a natural part of life. Instead of resisting or fearing it, we can be curious about it. We can shift our perspective and find a more empowered way to cope. Embracing change as an opportunity for growth and learning is one way. This can help us approach the future with a sense of openness. Another way to prepare for an uncertain future is by cultivating our internal flexibility. Being adaptable allows us to adjust our plans as situations evolve. We can also start a practice of seeing change as an opportunity for new possibilities. This will help us navigate the unexpected with more ease and creativity. For when we are stressed, our creativity decreases. When we are open, our creativity rises. Another crucial aspect is creating a strong internal foundation. Focus on developing our skills, knowledge, and practice emotional resilience. By having a habit of constant learning and growing, we can equip ourselves with the tools we need to face whatever challenges come our way. Also, it is important to strike a balance between knowing what is going on in the world and becoming overwhelmed by the constant input of mass media. While it is important to be aware of what is happening in the world, immersing ourselves in news can be very disempowering. We need to find a healthy balance that allows us to stay informed without sacrificing our mental well-being. Lastly, widening our perspectives and looking at the long-term view can be really helpful. Instead of solely focusing on the immediate future, try to envision how things might unfold over the course of years or decades. This broader perspective can help us see the bigger picture. And when we can find our center, then we can find our center even in the middle of uncertainty. Preparing for an uncertain future is an ongoing practice. By learning to embrace change, cultivate flexibility, invest in our own personal growth, and finding a healthy balance with information, While widening our perspective, we can be resilient in the face of change, and we will be better able to navigate the unknown future and find peace within ourselves. So, where can you cultivate the practices in your own life? These practices in your life. Are you ready to face an uncertain future? So, I believe, I don't quite remember, but I believe this blog post kind of came from a conversation I was having with a client who's very fearful about the future and what was going on in the world and all this stuff happening. Yet, when I questioned them and I kind of drilled down, I was like, well, what's going on in your daily life? Is what's happening out there, is it really affecting you in your day-to-day life right now? And they were thinking about it for a while. And they were like, no, not really, except just, people seem more stressed, not just me. I'm like, okay, I get it. And when we continue the conversation, and I guess I just related some stories around how I had to be very flexible in uncertain situations. And I've shared in the past about how while I was on vacation with my wife, she got the call from her niece that her sister had cancer, and she decided to go off in the moment and go to China to see her sister. And I was there, still out in Colorado for a couple of weeks without her. And that's just one example. I've had many, many times over my lifetime where I've really had to go with the flow, where I really had to just be flexible because I just didn't have a choice. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm going to cultivate a flexibility practice. No, it was just like life threw one bucket of water on top of me after another. And I was just like, okay, I guess I gotta like just enjoy being wet for a while. So it was kind of a learning by fire. Um, But what's happened is, and especially because in recent years, I've gotten much more comfortable with flexibility, much more comfortable with like not being attached with how things are supposed to or not supposed to go, not being attached to like, this is what it's got to look like. And, this person's supposed to show up at this time and we have to do this at this way and that time. I've gotten to be like, okay, whatever it is. And, if it's something I can do something about, I will. But if it's not, I won't. I'll just show up and be curious. Okay, if this is happening, it's happening for a reason. What's the lesson? What am I not seeing? What is the broader perspective? What is going on? And so as I'm relating all this to the person, I could just see their face. It went from like stress and pain to astonishment to like all of a sudden they settled into this like peaceful place. And then I knew that like, oh, I guess this is something that's helpful to share. And I do feel today, more than even a couple of years ago when I wrote this, we do live in a more uncertain time, an uncertain future. And look, I'm the first person to admit when I think about the future, when I think about everything going on in the world, what's going on in our environment, the ecological disaster, the division in the world, the political situation. I mean, just add it all up. I get overwhelmed. I get too much, which is why I say, like, sometimes limiting how much we expose ourselves to news can be really, really helpful. I mean, what I do, I don't watch the news. I don't watch CNN. I subscribe to a couple of newsletters that kind of summarize the big events of the world. I read the headlines, I read the little paragraph. If it's something that I really feel I need to know more about, I'll go and dig into it. Otherwise, it's just, okay, I know what's going on in general. I'm good. I don't have to marinate in it and I can move on with my day. And I find that that helps quite a bit. Now, sometimes because I do subscribe to a number of different blogs and emails, I do get a blog that's like, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. And I kind of feel like, oh my God, oh, what's going on in the world today? And I do feel awful for a while. until I do something like my show today with a wonderful guest, or I have a conversation with a colleague or a client, and just through that connection, I feel better. And that's actually a key thing I didn't put in this blog post. So by listening today, you're getting the extra secret sauce, which is community. When we can connect with people who support us, who we can relate to, who suddenly we have this sense of belonging with, like that can shift everything. That can shift feeling down about our life, about what's going on around us, about what's going on at work. Community really is the secret weapon. And when we find the people who we resonate with and they resonate with us, who are like-minded, like-hearted, like-spirited, like that can uplift us. And then we can focus on not just what's wrong with the world, but what can we do about it? And in the end, it always comes down to the same thing, at least for myself. As Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. There are problems in the world, there's challenges in the world, then we have to embody the solution. So surrounding ourselves with fellow travelers who also believe in embodying the solution can be a very powerful way to deal with uncertainty, the unknown, and learning to be flexible with what's going on around us. I mean, the one thing is for certain, only one thing is for certain. Change is not going away. If anything, it's speeding up. Tomorrow is going to be very different than we think it's going to be. And there's nothing we can do to stop it. The more we resist what is, the more we suffer. It's a Buddhist concept. The more we resist the change that's going on around us, the more difficulty and the more challenges we're going to have. Look, we don't have to like it. We don't have to be like, oh yeah, I love the fact that people are more anxious than they used to be. No, of course not. But we can't bury our head in the sand. We can't ignore the fact. The more we resist it, the more we're just giving ourselves anxiety and stress and trouble. The more we accept, like, okay, this is the reality I'm living in. What can I do? How do I have to be? How do I have to show up in the world to be the answer to this? How can I be more kind, more loving, more accepting, more of a peacemaker, more of a community builder who brings people together? Just by us showing up differently, we can't change anybody else, but we can affect those around us. By shifting our energy and the energy we're giving off, the people around us will feel that. It's not about the knowing, it's what they're going to feel. And when they feel that difference, they feel safer with us, they feel more peaceful around us, they'll start to embody that if they're open to it. And then they'll affect the people around them. So by changing ourselves, we can truly change the world around us. And ultimately, that's the answer to facing an uncertain future. That's why I entitled this blog post, Embracing Change is the answer to facing an uncertain future. Because when we embrace it, then those around us are feeling less nervous about an uncertain future. So that's my blog post. I hope you enjoyed it. Of course, you can always find it on my personally branded website, theconsciousconsultant.com, and or on the station's website, www.talkradio.nyc/blog. All right. Now, it is my extreme pleasure to welcome to the show executive leadership coach and soulful guide, Cara Jean Wilson. Cara is known for helping high achievers and entrepreneurs step out of the hustle culture and into a more fulfilling way of living and leading. With her unique ability to distill complexity into clarity, she supports people in aligning their work with their deepest purpose so they can experience more joy, freedom, and meaning in every area of life. Her signature framework, the CARA Method, wonder where she got that from, blends strategic vision and timeless wisdom to create transformation from the inside out. For her, clarity is not just about decision making, it's an alchemical process that turns confusion into direction, pressure into presence, and ambition into authentic expression. She shows us how clarity opens the door to connection and community, the true pillars of sustainable success. Welcome to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Cara.
Thank you, Sam. I'm so excited. I loved that entire blog post. I have so many notes. Like, I know nobody can see this, but I have a whole page of notes I took from that. Like, yes, yes, yes.
Totally, totally. Good thing we're very much aligned, which is why I wanted to have you on the show. We're kind of a little bit over time. So how about let's do this, Cara? Because I always like starting off kind of talking about your own journey and your own process a little bit. So why don't we do our commercial break first? And then when
Perfect.
we come back, let's just dive into, what was the path that brought you to what you're doing today? Like, were you like Lucy from the Peanuts when you were a little kid? Like, give me a quarter and I'll listen to all your problems? Or was this something that kind of evolved later in life? Okay.
Yes.
Beautiful. So, everyone, please stay tuned. You're listening to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity. We do this every Thursday, 12 noon to 1 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on talkradio.nyc and all over social media, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Twitch. And we'll be right back with our guest, Cara Jean Wilson, in just a moment.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a purpose-driven individual looking for deeper healing, clarity, and growth? Welcome to the Expansion Room, a transformative space for purpose-driven individuals. I'm Siobhan Larice, host, licensed therapist, and coach. Join me every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
And welcome back to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity. We're talking this hour with executive leadership coach Cara Jean Wilson. Cara, so like I said at the beginning, so when you were a little kid, were like all the other little kids coming to you telling you their problems? Like how did you manage to become a coach?
In hindsight, which is always 10-10, right? I do believe that I have been on this trajectory forever. But no, I don't know that you would look at little Cara and be like, oh, yeah, she's definitely going to grow up to be a coach. I was definitely bossy. I was definitely inquisitive. And most of that was because I just didn't, I feel like everyone else got a handbook on how to human, and I just didn't get that.
I like
So
that.
I had questions. I had
Yeah.
lots of questions. And I learned early on that if you ask questions in relation to what is happening in present moment, you don't get in trouble as much for talking in class.
Right.
So I took that and ran with it. I find it interesting that you talked about change as the blog post because it's
Mhm.
through that constantness of change that I got comfortable, not only in my own meat suit, hormone soup experience, but in doing that with others and really holding the space for that present moment, what is versus the what could be in the future or what was in the past. Instead of
Mhm.
time traveling, just bringing people back to this
Right.
moment.
Right.
Yeah. Lots of trauma, lots of drama,
Mhm.
and so much failure is how I ended up where I am today. I call myself a
Mm.
failure expert.
One time I had someone give me a reading and they said, I think it was astrology, and they said, "Oh, you're here to make all the mistakes and tell everyone else how not to make those mistakes." I'm like, "Oh, geez,
Yes,
why
Kindred.
did I pick that soul path?" So I'm curious, what were you doing before you became a coach?
I was so I have been in leadership since I was 15 in a foreign country. My
Wow.
family, yeah, my family downsized. My dad was CEO of Citicorp back in the 80s. He ran the whole Pacific Division. And
Wow.
yeah, we lived that life through the 80s and 90s. And then I don't think this is going to come as a giant to shock to anyone listening because it sounds like you work with pretty conscious human beings. That path, while on the outside looks really pretty and shiny, and it's absolutely what we say, oh, this is what success is, but on the inside, it comes with anxiety, depression, heart problems, obesity. Like the people who are succeeding don't feel like they're succeeding. It's
Yeah.
not a great human path. It's
Yeah.
probably why AI does so well in that space, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so my folks realized that this was slowly killing them, and that was not something that they wanted to model for their kids,
Mm,
right? That
mm.
there had to be a better way. So we downsized, sold the house, quit the job, downsized into an RV, and then traveled Mexico for 2 years.
Wow.
It was incredible. And
Wow.
on that trip, I got my first management job. One of the places we stayed opened up a beachfront hamburger stand, and I had good math sense. So at 15, I got put in charge of a bunch of 20-year-olds and told to run a restaurant
Wow. Wow.
in a language that I barely spoke. I learned it real fast. Boy,
Mhm.
nothing like immersion.
Yeah, 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 really. Nothing like putting your feet to the fire to really get you to run, right?
Yeah. And I had management position after management position. It wasn't until I was 24 and living in Texas when I was managing the things that you can only do in your 20s, right? So I was managing a sales force, door-to-door filter queen, vacuum cleaner sales during the
Mhm.
day. And then I was bartending and helping keep like soft manage a restaurant. I was the
Mhm.
key uh, during the afternoon evenings and then going to the bars and closing them down and then wash, rinse, and repeat, right? And I was person in charge in the morning and person in charge in the afternoon. And I usually ran the group that was out partying, making sure
Mhm.
people, right? So I was in charge all of the time. And I thought, what would be so good is if I got another job where I wasn't in charge. Only 20-year-old brains think, right? So
Right.
I did. I started applying and I went to a pet store and I thought, oh, this is going to be the best. Because if there's animals, there's poop. I might be a city girl, but I was also raised on farms. I've got a whole bunch of duality in me. So I was like,
Okay.
ooh, animal. I could be poop girl. I could just clean up. I could go in, clean up the animals. No one would mess with me. And then it would be the most relaxing job ever. So I went
Mm.
in and the cashier was checking me out and I said, hey, are you guys hiring for like cleaners or any of those things? And she goes, yeah, do you have any management experience? Yeah, but not in pet. I've never worked in a pet store. She's like, that's cool. Can you start at 5 tomorrow? I got hired on the spot to manage a, an industry that I had literally no idea. I knew
Wow.
nothing. And as a manager, your job is to make sure that people do their job, but I don't know what their job is. I have no idea.
Mm, mm.
And that was when I learned the difference between management and leadership. And I think that that was really where this
Ah.
trajectory suddenly took off. Because I went in on my first day and I went and introduced myself to everyone. I was like, hi, I'm your new boss. And I don't know what that means because I don't know what you need. So here's what I need from you. I need you to make me a list of all the things that you need to make your job easier. Because my job is to make sure you do your job. And I know I can, if I can help make it easier, then there's a better chance you're going to do your job. And they kind of just looked at me like, I don't, And my one of the employees was hoping to get the position that I got hired for. So he was very
Uh,
upset. And
mhm.
he gave me, I want to say, like 14 pages, like 7 pages, two-sided small font list
Mm,
of things
mm,
he needed. And so
mm.
I just started checking them off. I think by the end of the first day, we were several pages into the list.
Wow.
And he was like, wait, you're gonna do it? And I was like, well, yes, if this is what you need to get your job, and my job is to make sure you do your job, I need to make sure you have what you need to do. Like, that just makes sense, right? And he's like, but you're not going to tell me how I should use it or why I don't need that thing. I was like, I don't know any of that.
Right, right.
Why
Because
would
you're
I do
brand new.
that?
You don't know anything.
This is my first time in this building, so no. Uh,
Mm,
and it so completely shook the entire crew that our numbers started doubling. We started selling
mm,
better. We started producing better. The space was cleaner. The animals were
mm,
happier. And I
mm,
was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You mean I have been monitoring people and checking in on them and hover like Seagull manager, like Confessions of
mm,
a Terrible Manager, me all the way. I did
mhm,
all of those things.
mhm,
And then I learned you didn't have to. You could literally
mm,
just show up where they needed you, how they needed you to help them.
mm, mhm,
And I was like, whoa, 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 this is so much easier. Let's
mm,
just do this.
mm,
And then I discovered coaching. And coaching was all of that on the good side of it and even less of the
mm,
manager forcey thing. I
mhm,
literally get to show up with people wherever it is that they are, my BS aside,
mhm,
and ask them, which I like to ask questions. So I get to ask
mhm,
them questions to get them to be the genius. Because what I know is that when you need advice, you need expert advice, especially
mhm,
if you are in business.
mhm,
And the best expert to give you advice about what you are doing and how you are doing it is you, because you're
mhm,
the only one who has done what you do, how you do it, as long as you've been
mhm,
around to do that.
mhm,
But taking a minute to stop and ask ourselves those questions is really hard. So having somebody else ask
mhm,
them to
mhm,
you and then raise their eyebrows so you have to answer
mhm.
really pulls good stuff. People are geniuses.
Cool, cool. That's interesting. So what made you make the switch to hop from management to coaching?
I was internal. So I coached internally. I got brought onto a
Mhm.
restaurant and then asked to help develop their internal management training system
Uh,
and got certified in coaching for that, thinking I was going to continue on the corporate path. And then
mhm,
we noted some spots of misalignment. No shade on the company, still a beautiful, beautiful company.
mhm,
And we came out of alignment during the pandemic.
mhm, mhm.
So I figured, with all of the free time that I was going to have on maternity leave, I'll just start a new business. That'll be easy.
Yeah, sure. That's what every newborn mother should do, is just start a business.
Yeah. So I took my first client within a week of having my baby, and I didn't have another one for 6 months.
So basically, you had two babies at the same time.
Yes.
Got it. Got it. Ah, now I know a new definition of a sucker for punishment. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
nobody laughed in my face. I really feel like someone at some point in that process should have been like, "Look, you idiot."
yeah. Or you crazy person. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'd be a little kinder. I'd just say you're crazy, not an
Other
idiot.
people are nicer. That's true.
Yes, yes. Cool. Uh, so many questions, but let's take the next break. And when we come back, I want to talk about like what you learned once you went off on your own and how coaching on your own is different from coaching within an organization and sort of what was your own internal evolution during that process? What did you learn about yourself in that
Oh
process?
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Beautiful. So everyone, please stay tuned. You're listening to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, and we'll be right back with our guests, Cara Jean Wilson, in just a moment. In just a moment.
Misalignment within your sales team or with a client stalls deals and creates unnecessary friction for you and the client, resulting in up to 37% lower win rate. If you're in pre-sales, sales management, or sales enablement, and you'd like to increase revenues, win rate, margins, client satisfaction, and stay competitive, this show is for you. Hi, I'm Art Fromm, host of the Making Seamless Sales Show. Please join me live Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Linda Marcanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
And welcome back to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity. So, Cara, I have to ask you, you look like you're in the middle of a forest somewhere. Where are you?
I am in Lost Valley, Oregon, which is in Dexter, which is just outside of Eugene. Lost Valley is an eco village and education center, and I
Oh,
am living there.
oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, it's beautiful. I have to come visit you out there sometime.
Yes, do. They have a community week coming up mid-October. 10 out of 10, if you can make it over here, do suggest. It will be absolutely life-affirming.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Cool, cool. So I wanted to ask you, you mentioned how, the pandemic happened, you left that business, you had a baby, started your coaching business all at the same time. What happened over those first like year or two of your coaching business? Like, what were the challenges that you had to face that really helped you to see what the difference is between coaching as a business as opposed to coaching within an organization?
I've been thinking about this the entire break, how I would answer that question, because I don't think that it's a simple thing that I can
Yeah.
answer. There's like not like one great, there were so many. I knew I was doing well when every week I had to take a big breath and then scream at the ceiling, I processed this already. because it just kept coming back, but at new levels. And I learned that that was actually a sign of success and not the failure that I had been programmed to beat myself up for, right? That was a big, big one. I learned a lot about the difference between the way, air quote, and a way, right? What I found in business is everybody knew what the way of that business was. And boy, you had to do it that way, regardless of what you needed. And then when you went off into your own business, you had lines of people ready to tell you what the way, and each one of them had a different way. And I was like, whoa, wait. And that's what took me down the path that I ended up. I learned that you don't have to do organization charts. You can build ecosystems. The leadership doesn't have to be just developed. It can be regenerative. That resilience can come to a point where it's past performative, past productive, into this level of proficient that you do so much less and achieve so much more by being resourced.
What do you mean by being resourced?
A lot of it is mindset. I would say that is true, but it really is in my bio, we talked about the hustle cult, right? Like that there is this programming since before the 2nd century. Like this is a long-standing generational pattern that your job is to go out and push and push and push to exhaustion, because that means that you're productive, and that means you're a good employee, and that means you're employable and a productive member. And if you're not doing that, there's something inherently wrong with you and you're a failure. It's just a whole spiral experience in that place. And as I stepped out of that, as I allowed myself space, as I navigated the high levels of fear and frustration that being an entrepreneur and riding the waves comes with, I really got to understand not just the biology of what was happening to me, because I'm neurospicy and I like to have the facts to back things up, but I also understood the humanness and why back in the 80s, woo-woo was such a blasted term, right? That's when it came up, because heaven forbid we bring the human in. No, what we'd like is for you to leave half of yourself at the door and then still somehow show up holy, which if you're going to be an authentic person, the mess is part of it.
Right.
Like that. I have a whole system around the T of life: trust, empower, and align. And it sounds really simple, which means like insultingly simple, which means it will be the hardest work of your life.
Yes.
And it is that swirl, right? That constant change. I'm going to tie it into your blog post, and I'm going to do it in a CARA Method way so you can see the whole thing. Are you ready?
Yep.
So we're going to clarify. We're going to clarify some BS, some belief systems, some habits that we've created around a belief system, a mindset, right? Which is that change is hard. This is a known thing. People talk about this constantly. No pain, no gain. Change is hard. And then I'm gonna assess that clarity. We know this, right? That we know it's so clear that this is it. But I'm gonna assess that. I'm gonna challenge that a little bit, and we're gonna look at the reality, because you're a meat suit full of hormone soup at a baseline basic level, right? And you are currently both being reborn and dying right now. Right. Are you in pain? Are you okay? Is it hard?
No.
Weird, right? In fact, if you think back over your life, is there anything today that is the same as when you were born?
Nope.
So change is constant. Change is actually the only constant that you can rely on in life. Maybe it's not that change is hard. Could it be that our attachment to how things should be is causing ourselves harm?
Exactly.
Right. And if that's true, if we can agree that okay, so it really isn't that change is hard, but it is my expectations of how I think I or you or the world is supposed to change. And then when life's, right? Because life's whole job is to life all over what plans you make. Life. Am I right? Come on.
Yep.
Then we can create a new BS. a new belief system and build some new habits around the reality that change is a constant opportunity.
Mm.
And opportunities can be challenging, right? That can be
Right.
hard, but it doesn't have to
Right.
be. It gets to be an opportunity. And if you can make that shift, if you can start to decide simply first to think that way, step one, and then start to sort of speak that. When people say things, change is hard, you can go, well, my attachment to change is hard, and start
Mhm.
speaking that difference.
Right. Right.
What you will see are opportunities showing up to confirm that in your life, behaviorally.
Mm.
I call this the magic three. In a world of chaos where you have actually very little that you are in control of,
Control. Yeah,
if
absolutely.
you can let go of control, and I get that's like a whole job. I'll give that its space.
Yeah.
But if you can, then there's only three things that you have control over: the way you think, the way you speak, and the way you behave. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, you have power, control, and impact. It's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we assess and realign around that magic three and what is versus what was or what could be, that's when we get that present moment regenerative resilience that allows us to just adapt to what is happening, because we already
Mm-hmm.
have so many skills. You've done that.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, if you have grown up, you have done that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you can do it again.
Right. And in fact, we're constantly doing it because we're constantly reinventing ourselves with every challenge that comes our way.
Yeah. From a business point of view, right? If we step out of the woo-woo space and just go straight into the concrete analytical corporate zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a tangible, real way, that is the understanding that being in the present moment allows you to impact change.
Mm-hmm.
And while you absolutely need a vision to drive towards, and you want to understand what happened, we literally created an entire lean management system. So instead of attaching to what was, we leverage what worked so we can find more of what worked and move forward.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Exactly. So it's not holding on to past successes, but learning from them so that we can see, okay, this aspect of what worked, and this aspect of what worked actually wasn't so good. So now we can iterate, take the good stuff and maybe tweak the not so good stuff a little bit so we can do even better next time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty
And we
simple,
know
huh?
this in business. Right. So, right. Insultingly simple, which means hardest work of your life. Yes. In my experience, yes.
Yes. Yes. I'm curious, when you work with leaders today, do you find they're more open than maybe they were when you started, or less open than when you started to this kind of a message?
Ooh, that's such a good question. Do I find that leaders are more open? I would say my personal, like my one-on-one clients, I don't know that I would notice a change there.
Okay.
However, when I go into corporations and help create trainings, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
working with Transcend Leadership and Treetop Farms, they're a big applesauce company over here on the West Coast.
Okay.
And we're doing this whole performance culture rollout. It is incredible. When we started, they didn't even want us to use the words emotional intelligence together because they were concerned about the eye rolls that they were going to get. In level three, we built in some breath work training to it, right? And you have to make sure that this is optional. Nobody is going to want to stay. They now use emotional intelligence almost on the daily at work because that language so connected with them. And every single person stayed for the breathwork classes.
Wow. Wow.
So I don't know that the people have changed and become more receptive. I think the corporate entity has. Right? So 50 years ago, when woo-woo got coined as a negative, and then we started calling them soft skills to like brush them aside. Fast forward, and now we have AI that can take care of a lot of that analytical, a lot of that data. If there's an app for it, there's a bot for it, there's something like that that can take care of it. But that people part, we went through a pandemic and discovered like Columbus style discovery. Oh my gosh, who knew that this could be the case? That all businesses are made up of people, and
Yeah.
all businesses create things for people, so that turns out peopling is a really important skill.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Woof. That was good. That was good. I need to take a moment. I need to take a breath just to absorb all of that. So I think we're going to take our last break of the show. And what we'll do when we come back, I'd like to get your perspective on sort of where do you think we're going as a people? Where are we going in this world? Because if you listen to most conversations today, people are kind of worried about where we're going. So I'm wondering if you have some insights, some pearls of wisdom that can help people to be able to face that unknown, that in a more empowered way. Okay.
Yes, I'm excited. Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. So everyone, please stay tuned. You're listening to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, and we'll be right back to wrap it all up with our guest, Cara Jean Wilson, in just a moment.
On Frank About Health, we're not just talking healthcare. We're managing disruption and innovation. Over the last 4 years, I've taken you from epilepsy and COVID to mental health, caregiving, and now the front lines of healthcare transformation. Stay tuned for a healthier future as we bring on the innovators, professionals, storytellers, and advocates who show you how to own your healthcare every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
Ready to serve up success with a splash? Hi, I'm Bruce Kramer, a.k.a. the Corporate Cockroach.
I'm the Renaissance woman, Angie Snowball.
And I'm your strategy doctor, Dr. Navtej Desange, inviting you to serving up success with a splash.
Join us as we shake things up with real talk and real strategies centered around awareness, action, and accountability.
And yes, there really is a cocktail involved. Please join us and sip your way to success.
Serving up success with a splash, where wisdom meets happy hours. Cheers!
Cheers!
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
And welcome back. So, Cara, in the world today, I think maybe just a few of our listeners, just a few people out there might be a little nervous about the future, might be a little anxious about how much change is happening with AI, with technology, with society, with just everything. What would you say to those people?
Okay, this is another one of those insultingly simple, so this will be a lot of work, right? I would agree that what we experience most of the time in the world is a dumpster fire, train wreck, avalanche that we're all caught in. I don't know that it is more now than it was previously. From my point of view, it pretty much has just always been that way in varying levels, yes?
Yeah.
The best thing that we can do when confronted with that reality is to make sure that we don't use our BS, our belief systems, as gasoline on the dumpster fire, train wreck, avalanche in front of us. And a lot of that, we say mindset, but it really is mind sinking from my point of view. It is understanding that understanding first what fixed and growth mindsets are, and then detaching, leaning into that emotional intelligence space and detaching good and bad, because positive and negative is really, really relative.
Yeah.
That depends on your experiences and your point of view and what you have been groomed in. I mean, there's 8 billion people on the planet, so there are 8 billion different opinions about what is good or bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if we can detach from that, and I get that that is its own thing, then fixed mindset and growth mindset are simply two sides of how our brain works. One is that we're in survival mode, right? If we're in survival mode, that is where the fear shows up. That's where we get distressed. It is actually, in my BS, probably what a neurotypical brain, because we don't really have a way to define that, but everybody has this because you need to survive. And if you don't survive, then you can't do things.
Right.
That's not bad. It can be limiting. It is sort of, if your brain, if you're being chased by a tiger, you want a fixed mindset. A growth mindset will start wandering off down different pathways of, can they climb trees? How fast can they climb trees? Can humans outrun them? If I jump, now you're already dead. You're already dead.
Right. Right.
Whereas your fixed mindset is like tiger, death, cliff, jump.
Right.
And your growth mindset's like, no, we might hurt something if we jump off that cliff. And your fixed mindset is like, right, okay, pain, death, pain, just jump.
Yeah.
And you need that. You want that.
Yeah.
You want to have a quick reactive survival space. If, however, you are watching the news and you are consuming lots of things that tell you the world is a dumpster fire, train wreck, avalanche, and you are living in that space, that's really limiting. From there, fear is in control. And if I'm not winning, I'm losing, which means that I have to be right. I have to push other people out of the way. They're doing it wrong because they're not. The spiral gets spirally.
Yeah.
In that place.
Yeah.
So we have to resource ourselves. We have to give ourselves time. We have to give ourselves energy. We have to allow ourselves financial abundance so that we are not showing up with stink face, looking for stink face results and then being upset that we found stink face results. We want to get into that growth mindset, that place where, look, we all know. I'm not going to say anything that anybody here does not know.
Right.
We know the phrase, this too shall pass. And we know that's true.
Right.
We know that we have survived 100% of our worst days and thrived 100% of our best days. We know. We know that the only constant is change. We know these things, but we get so caught up in what that might mean. We lose ourselves. And we get mad and we get angry, and then we look at the world mad and angry, and then we do things in the world mad and angry, which generates mad and angry results.
Yeah.
We see this in corporate America right now around burnout, right?
Yeah.
So we have all of these leaders who are at this somewhere between burnout and shutdown, right? We've gone way past the getting up to burnout, and we're just living in that zone. And when you're in a burnout, you're exhausted, you're fatigued, and you're frustrated. So you're going forward trying to do things that are generating exhaustion, fatigue, and frustration because that's what you showed up with. But if we take the time, and it is, again, insultingly simple, so really, really hard, just to take a breath, right? That inhalation, that inspiration brings inspiration. Take a breath. Look at what is. Acknowledge what was. That's important, right? We definitely want to, but we don't want to time travel to the past because that way lies depression. And we want to think about what could be in the future, but we don't want to live there because in that direction lies anxiety. But right here, the present, your present, the place where you get to be the gift is where opportunities are happening. You have to train your brain not to time travel, but to exist right here and look at what is, not through the lens of fear, but through that lens of, oh, we know this is going to change. So isn't this curious? Is this going to be one of those moments that passes like a kidney stone? Or one that passes like a wave? And when it is crazy the way the human brain works, if you allow yourself curious and a desire to understand, not to correct, not to fix, not to solve, not to any of the other things we so very often show up with, like no shade, I get it. And if you're just showing up to understand, it triggers the brain above that amygdala into that growth space where you're using those emotions to make really good judgment without getting mental, not getting judgmental about it. And when you can do that and build habits from that place, then the dumpster fire, train wreck, avalanche isn't so terrifying because you are literally there helping put it out.
Mm, mm. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Nice. We're almost out of time. I've got one last question for you. I just love this conversation. I could talk with you for hours about this stuff. It sounds like you know so much, you coach on so much. What challenges you these days?
All the things that I just talked about. I'm really. So one of the things I have discovered is as you learn these things, as they become normalized in your own nervous system, then you get to learn them again at a new level. So
Right.
I struggle with all of these things, right? The insultingly simple stuff is literally the hardest work of your life. I just struggle at it in a way that I've been working with it for so long. So I still struggle with lack feelings and fear of where the world is going to go. And then I do what I know to do, right? Take a breath, recenter myself, probably go drink some water, maybe eat something because I haven't done that in the last 16 hours because still learning, right?
Right.
And then maybe just go talk to somebody else because what I know, is there problems in the world? Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
We're not going to Pollyanna this at all. Yes,
Right.
absolutely. And I also know that there are amazing people doing amazing things like Sam right here doing this. Like having these conversations, normalizing this. These are good things, good people doing good things, making the world a better place. And if all we look at is the horrible things going on, we can believe that that is all there is, but it's not. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Very good. Unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show. If people want to learn more about you, your work, get in touch with you, where do they find you?
I am very accessible on all of the medias. The fastest way is just email Cara Jean at takingcara, C-A-R-A, business.com, because that's also the website, Taking Cara Business, because I'm hilarious. And come hang out. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, I do a retreat of the fourth Saturday of every month in the Tri-Cities, so Kennewick, Pasco, Richland area.
Oh.
I do a Friday training right here live from the stage behind me on Fridays at 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I've got a retreat coming up the 18th through the 23rd. There are 4 places left if you would like one in the next 7 days, but you're going to come here and we're going to immerse you in community so that 80% of the retreat is built around resourcing you and figuring out what that means for you. And then 20% we're going to do my VIP Leadership Day work, and we're going to build out a dashboard and the vision, mission, values and really align for 2026.
Nice, nice. Wow, that sounds great. And that is that information on your website?
It is not. You have to contact me. It is only this is the second time I've mentioned it publicly, but I feel like the people in your community might be able to get it.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. So definitely reach out to Cara Jean, Cara at takingcareofbusiness.com. Cara, thank you so much. Such a pleasure having you on my show. I'm sure our paths will be crossing before too long again.
Thank you, Sam. Please continue doing what you're doing. These conversations are so important. It makes my life easier. Thank you, selfishly.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. And of course, thank you, my loyal listeners, for tuning in each week. Without you, there is no show. And don't forget, if you did miss any part of today's show, you can always catch the replay on your favorite podcasting platform, Apple, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon, or on any of the social media, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or on our website at talkradio.nyc. Thank you all for tuning in. Take care. We will talk to you all next week.